Coming up next on the Holistic Wealth Podcast.
There's so many people who are going through so much pain, whether it's grief from the death of a loved one, whether it's relationship problems, a marriage that's not working, or a relationship falling apart, whether it's the bills that can't get paid, a toxic job, family issues, a chronic illness, whatever it is. Just remember that whatever your mountain, God can move it.
You're listening to the Holistic Wealth Podcast with host Keisha Blair, author of Holistic Wealth and founder of the Institute on Holistic Wealth. And now, here's your host, Keisha Blair.
Welcome to the Holistic Wealth Podcast, and I'm your host, Keisha Blair. And today we have another solo episode, and our episode today is on the 4 laws of spiritual self-renewal, and that's an entire chapter in Holistic Wealth in the book, The Holistic Wealth Expanded and Updated Edition. It's chapter 19, and if you go to chapter 19, which is part 3 in the book, and that part is entitled Physical and Spiritual Nourishment. The very first chapter in part 3 of the book is entitled Spiritual Self-Renewal. So before I get into this podcast episode, I'd like to recognize our sponsors, the Institute on Holistic Wealth, and you can visit the website at www.instituteonholisticwealth.com for a range of courses and resources. And of course, if you haven't got your copy of the book, of the Holistic Wealth Expanded Updated book, you can do so online. It's available everywhere online. And the new German edition is also available for those who are listening in from Europe, from Germany, Switzerland, Finland, Denmark, wherever you're listening in from. We appreciate you so much, all of our listeners. And this episode is very, very important to me. It's central to the 1 billion mission that I set out after my dad died in April. And if you did not listen to that episode, you can go back to that episode entitled Reaching 1 Billion with Holistic Wealth. And that was related to my dad's death and caregiving and the sandwich generation. You'll see it if you search for it. So the 4 laws of spiritual self-renewal, as I said, an entire chapter in the book, and I wrote an article on Thrive Global about that, and that formed the basis of this chapter. And there's so many people who are going through so much pain, whether it's grief from the death of a loved one, whether it's relationship problems, a marriage that's not working, or a relationship falling apart, whether it's the bills that can't get paid, a toxic job, family issues, a chronic illness, caregiving, divorce, whatever it is, just remember that whatever your mountain, God can move it. Tell it to God. And so this episode and, this chapter on the 4 laws of spiritual self-renewal is so important for us on our day-to-day walk with God, and our day-to-day walk with building holistic wealth. And that's why during this journey, I've been so very forceful and adamant in emphasizing the other pillars of holistic wealth that are critical to people, because no amount of money can bring a loved one back from the grave. No amount of money can save a marriage if it's faltering. No amount of money can prevent your loved one from passing away from a chronic illness. So money can only do so much and no more. So every day we get up and we strive, we think about our goals and building a better life. But how many of us get up every single day thinking about our spiritual lives, thinking about spiritual self-renewal? And that's why I want to call your attention to it in this episode. And it's amazing how when we talk about the urgency of this, the fierce urgency of reaching 1 billion people with this, the fierce urgency of spiritual self-renewal, too many people are carrying mountains alone. The World Health Organization now estimates that over 1 billion people worldwide are living with a mental health condition. and the rates of anxiety, depression, and burnout have spiked since the pandemic. And this is the context for spiritual self-renewal. This is not fuzzy self-help or woo-woo stuff. This is a serious, urgent public health issue. This is a serious, urgent human care issue. And let's face it, none of us were meant to carry these mountains alone. You were not meant to carry your mountain alone. You were not meant to climb that mountain alone. So I just want to go through the 4 laws of spiritual renewal. And even before I do that, I'm just looking at chapter 19 in the book. And when we talk about spiritual self-renewal, we're talking about examining our lives, examining the journey. And this quote is central. It's the beginning quote to this chapter. And it says, "An unexamined life is not worth living." And that's a quote by Socrates. Let me just read that again. "An unexamined life is not worth living." And I'll start with the first few lines of this chapter. I'll read them in chapter 19 for you to kind of give you a definition of what spiritual self-renewal is for those who've never heard about the concept. So spiritual self-renewal is about taking the time to rejuvenate, letting the past go so a new you in a new phase of life can be born. And this is a very, very powerful thing. It's amazing how our journey in life unfolds and how much time we take to making sure that we are walking in the right direction, that our lives are heading in the right direction. So number 1, I'll start with the first law. Take a personal inventory. And this is so important, right? How many of us have sat down and really jotted down our feelings and what our thoughts are and where we're headed? When we talk about taking a personal inventory, survey your valley. So many times, when we're going through hard times, I call that like valley moments. It's like you're standing in the valley with mostly dry bones. That failing relationship, that divorce, the death of a loved one, that business that failed, the career that never took off, that toxic workplace, the bills that can't be paid, parenting issue with teens. And these can physically, emotionally, and spiritually consume our very existence and block any hope of self-renewal or personal growth unless we take it by the reins and grab it and do something intentional. We'll be on that trajectory for life if we don't do something to change. So a personal inventory that explores our deepest thoughts will bring these issues to light. And here's how you do the personal inventory, right? We're going to survey our valley. When we survey our valley around us, how many negative thoughts are we harboring? How many of our days are spent harboring negative thoughts that block opportunities and blessings? And whether it's negative thoughts of your spouse or negative thoughts about finances or negative thoughts about the job. I mean, all of these really point to core issues, but we need to really grab it by the horns and think about how much of them are weighing us down, how much of it we're harboring in our valley moments, right? And then we jot down negative thoughts and we also jot down our feelings. Let's talk about the second part B of taking that personal inventory. Let's talk about gratitude, right? How much of your day is spent pitying your personal situation or thinking about gratitude? What about the small blessings that have happened during that day or during that week or during that month? Jot down those things and think about those things, because so many times when we think about our situation, and this is how the brain works when we're under stress, we focus on the negative parts of our lives and then that takes center stage. And so often when we think about others or we think about our lives, the negativity comes to the fore. So the third part of taking that personal inventory is looking at our forgiveness. How much have we really forgiven ourselves and others for past hurts, for missed opportunities, for anything like that? How much have we really and seriously forgiven? If we keep bringing up the same issues, if we keep delving into the same things, have we really moved past it? The fourth part of taking up personal inventory, let's look at our priorities. Are there any misplaced priorities? Because we know that what our life should look like, what we want our life to look like, we can prioritize that. But have we been intentionally doing that on a day-to-day basis? So how much of our attention and effort is placed on actually achieving those goals? And whether it's family, whether it's your relationships, whether it's finances, whether it's the kids, the teens, whether it's, leaving a toxic job and finding a better opportunity, whether it's launching or scaling up that new side hustle, have you been taking the steps to really do that and intentionally do that and prioritizing it every single day? So that's law one. That's taking a personal inventory. So when you are listing what's in your valley, name the wound, or naming the wound is the first act of care, right? Because if we can't name those wounds, we can't care for them. If we don't know the wound, we can't care for it. So name the wound as the act of care. So as I said, write that down and invite prayer into your life. As I started saying before, this is about spiritual self-renewal. So it's grounded in prayer and acts of spirituality, right? Naming the mountain and inviting the prayer around that mountain is critical. So law 2, setting the direction of progress in your life. So setting the direction of progress is about specific purpose-aligned action. So purpose-aligned action, and all our actions need to be aligned with purpose. All our actions need to be purpose-centered, not outside of that. So if you talk about your relationship, our last episode was holistic wealth in relationships. And I know there's so many problems with relationships. You see it on social media. You see it everywhere. How are you walking in purpose for your relationship? Are you really walking in purpose, aligned in making your relationship better? And so when we talk about purpose-aligned action, that's what we're talking about. A direction is a mission you can take one small step towards each day. And so when we talk about burnout and stress in the workplace, which also affects relationships, it's unbelievable how much burnout there is. It's costing the global economy hundreds of billions of dollars. Many employees are reporting burnout. And when we talk about purpose-driven forward motion action, that aligns with greater resilience and higher engagement, like in your life, in your family life. And so it's important to choose a micro step every single day that aligns with your vision. So that's what setting the direction of progress in your life is all about. It's about taking those purpose-aligned actions to really build the life you want. And so forward motion, no matter how small, is honored by grace. So let's talk about law 3, renewing your hope and motivation. And so renewing your hope and motivation is an active discipline. It's a daily practice to retrain the mind towards possibilities, not paralysis. So hope and motivation is a huge thing. It drives us forward to achieve our goals, and that fierce optimism can withstand all shocks, all mistakes, all barriers that's needed for spiritual self-renewal. It's standing in the face of relentless obstacles and finding a pathway to succeed. And so that's what we talk about. We talk about hope and optimism. And listen, this isn't just some concept out there. This is backed by research. It has measurable effects. So practices that sustain hope, gratitude lists, community support, spiritual rituals, meditation, they're all associated with better mental health, better health overall, better physical health. For example, just one study showed that meditation and mindfulness produce reductions in stress, anxiety, depression symptoms across many studies. Similarly, when we talk about prayer, it's associated with higher rates of physical health, mental health, emotional health. And we all know this, right? We all know this. So Here's a 30-second guided hope exercise for you. So breathe, recall one thing that you're grateful for today. Say one small hope aloud and do it again. So again, breathe, recall one thing that you're grateful for right now in this moment. Say one small hope aloud, and then you can do it again. Hope is a discipline. It's not a feeling, it's a discipline. Having fierce optimism requires discipline. It requires standing in the face of setbacks, as I said, in the face of obstacles, in the face of mountains, and having faith that it's going to be fine, everything's going to be well. So let's talk about law 4, spiritual transformation. So spiritual transformation is the long game. It's regular spiritual discipline, prayer, study, service, and that reshapes our identity from scarcity, from a lack of hope to abundance, and from isolation to contribution. So all of these things are protective, or contribution or service. And you know how you hear about the benefits of volunteering in the community, the benefits to physical and mental health, increased functioning, reduced mortality in older adults, stronger well-being, spiritual practices in particular, in terms of your faith, in terms of your service, in terms of worship, are associated with better coping and social support. So spiritual transformation, when you get to that point, when you go from me, what can I get? It's all about me and my feelings, me and my world, to what can I give? What am I giving? Then you know you're moving towards spiritual transformation. That's how you know you're on that path. When you stop making yourself the center of everything and you make others in your lives the center, right? You're saying, what can I give? What can I give back? How can I make my family better? How can I put them first? Not necessarily how I'm feeling. And if you're on that path and you're thinking, well, I feel frustrated today, so I'm not doing it, or your feelings take center stage, then you know you're not there, right? When you can rise above those negative feelings and actually put others first, that's when spiritual transformation is taking place. So that's giving you an idea of what spiritual transformation looks like in action. It's saying, you know what? I'm frustrated, I'm angry, but I'm going to put those feelings behind me. I'm going to put those feelings below that feeling of what I need to do to put my family first, to put my spouse first. So here is another practice. Choose one spiritual practice to commit to for 14 days. 5 minutes of morning silence, one small act weekly, prayer in the mornings or prayer at midday or prayer in the evenings. And transformation comes through regular small acts. Okay? So transformation moves the center of your life from what can I get to what can I give. So when we bring these 4 laws together, I want you to name your mountain today. I want you to name your mountain, set the direction, renew hope daily, commit to transformation. These 4 steps combine self-awareness, actionable goals, evidence-based practices, and spiritual depth. So I know there's so many people listening in who are feeling the weight of many burdens in life. And sometimes that weight, those burdens, can overshadow everything. And I know sometimes it can even overshadow some of the good that's happening around you, because when you're overwhelmed, that's all you can see. And I want to offer a quick prayer before we end this podcast episode today, because I know there's so many people listening in, and there's so many of our listeners who are feeling burdened by those mountains. So God, I name this mountain. Help me take one small step. Give me the courage to renew hope and the faith to transform. And when you're praying your prayer, I want you to name the mountain in your life or the mountains in your life so that you can take care of those wounds, so that you know where to treat the wounds, where the wounds are, and so that you can improve and set the direction of progress in your life and apply these 4 laws of spiritual renewal. So take a 10-minute personal inventory. Pick one micro step toward your direction. Commit to a 14-day spiritual practice and share this episode with 3 friends who need it. As we stated, we're on a mission to reaching 1 billion people with holistic wealth. And this is why this message is so important. There's so many ways to get involved. So many ways. If you are tuning in, you've been listening to the Holistic Wealth Podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Share this episode. Become part of this mission and reach out to us. We love hearing from listeners. So have a wonderful week ahead, everyone. Go back to this chapter in Holistic Wealth in the book. It's all there. You can write your notes along with the chapter, and there's lots of things there that I didn't get to expand on in this episode about practicing journaling and different aspects of spiritual self-renewal that you can do to build your spiritual practice each and every single day. And it's so critical for every single part of your life, for every single pillar of holistic wealth. It's critical for your finances. It's critical for your relationships. It's critical for your mental, physical, emotional health. It's critical for building meaning and purpose in life. So have a great week, everyone. Love you all.
The Holistic Wealth Podcast with Keisha Blair is brought to you by... Have you joined the Institute on Holistic Wealth? If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Choose your membership plan at the Institute on Holistic Wealth/memberships to join. As a member, you'll get access to free worksheets, advice, coaching, and an intentional design workshop. As you start to live a more holistically wealthy lifestyle, you'll want to stay for a very long time. So go to Institute on Holistic Wealth/memberships to join. If you haven't read the book yet, pick up a copy of the award-winning best-selling Holistic Wealth 36 Life Lessons to help you recover from disruption, find your life purpose, and achieve financial freedom.